I just finished a set of videos on having more love in your life where I talked about the fact that love is based on utility, and for something to be love it has to be useful. And I wanted to address that concept in respect to developing self-love. You know, one of the things I find that happens a lot, whether we're talking to our friends, helping them, or they're helping us, one of the kind of new, modern things we like to say to people, we like to say, you need to develop more self-love. You just need to develop self-love. And so I find we tell that to each other, and the other person will always agree and go, yeah, I need to develop more self-love. And then we look at each other and agree that's the right thing to do, and then go back and do everything the way we always did usually. And it's kind of funny how, while everyone agrees on how to do that, we really haven't talked a lot about ways in developing self-love. We'll say, well, you should meditate, you should get in touch with your inner self, get in touch with your needs. We talk about these vague ways of developing self-love. But self-love, just like love between any two people, is based on utility. It's useful. So self-love and developing self-love is based on taking an action for yourself that's useful. And so what that action is going to depend on where you're at in your life and what you need. Basically, what is useful for you. And if you can supply what's useful to you, you're going to develop self-love. Okay? If you are, waiting for someone else to support you, waiting for someone else to give you something, if you're not being useful to yourself, you're not going to have self-love, which means you're not going to feel good about yourself. But the minute you start being useful with yourself and you see all the ways you can provide and give to yourself and support yourself and make you happy, you're going to start loving yourself the same way you're going to love a partner who treats you that way. And one of the, so this is such an important, simple concept. If you want to develop self-love, do something useful for yourself. If meditating helps you, and if it's useful to you, meditate. If skydiving helps you and is useful to you, go skydiving. Doesn't matter what it is, the only thing that matters is it's useful to you. Okay? Is being dependent useful? No, it's not you being useful to yourself. It's wonderful when someone provides. That makes them useful to you. But that doesn't develop self-love. Self-love develops when you depend on yourself, when you provide for yourself. And I'm not saying that as you develop self-love, you shouldn't receive love from others. You should. But you have to remember that the more you can do for yourself, the more joy you can give yourself, the more needs you can fulfill in yourself, the more self-love you're going to have. And therefore, just because you're more useful to yourself. And at that point, you start having a relationship with yourself. It's almost like a two-way street sustainable love, where you're giving love to yourself, you feel good, and you're developing a healthy, beautiful relationship with yourself. Just like we want to have a healthy, beautiful relationship with someone else, where they're supporting us and useful to us and making our lives better, and we're doing the same in return, we can start that process without another person, just by us being that other person and giving the love to ourselves, providing our needs, fulfilling whatever it is we need, taking steps, taking actions to provide something, anything that's good for you, that's useful to you. And so none of us need to wait to have a relationship where we are receiving love. And developing a loving relationship with ourselves really is so much about being useful to oneself. The stuck clients, I was almost going to say the most stuck, but that's not correct. The only stuck clients I get are the clients who resist being useful to themselves. They're blaming the world. This is wrong, I've had such bad luck, this is wrong. And the question is, are they doing anything useful for themselves? And if they're stuck, that simply means they're not. So, in any situation where, we're stuck in any way, we need to get unstuck by being useful to ourselves. It all starts with self-love, being useful to ourselves. So, I think I just wanted to talk about this real quickly. Developing self-love, it's just being useful. It's not harder than that. It's another one of those such simple ideas that we forget how important it is. When you're useful to yourself and you can do things for yourself that matter, then you recognize that you have abilities, you gain confidence, you recognize that you have things to offer other people. I mean, think about it. If you can make yourself happy, it's going to be it's going to be easier even to make others happy, because we all know helping ourselves sometimes is the most difficult thing, right? So, just wanted to advocate just being useful to yourself is a real big solution, and what that means you need to think about and decide. Now, when you have a relationship and you've got problems in your life and you're not feeling good and you're having self-doubts and you're maybe having negative thoughts about yourself, you know how wonderful it feels when someone comes up and helps you drop that stuff, someone validates you, helps you drop those negative thoughts about yourself. And it's so easy to feel love for someone who provides that service, who provides that kind of love. And that's because it's useful. It's useful to have someone that helps us get rid of our baggage, and who'll talk to us and do what it takes to help us let go of all the things that are, getting in the way of us being happy. And we can do that for ourselves too. We can just say, well, just as I would like someone to be useful and come over here and help me feel better and get rid of the things in my mind and the things in my heart that are depressing me and replace them with happy feelings, you can do that to yourself too. That's really one of the most important ways to be useful to yourself. To replace the things in you that are making you unhappy, the thoughts, the feelings, the angers, the frustrations, whatever. And just taking care of them just as if you were your own best lover. Okay, just as you would want a lover to come along and help you with those things. You can do it for yourself. The beautiful thing about developing self-love is it's impossible to be a victim of life if you have self-love. Okay? Again, when people are really stuck, it's because they feel they're victims of life, which means they don't see any way, it doesn't feel like there's any way life can work. Life is treating them bad, people are treating them bad, God is treating them bad, fate, whatever. Everything is treating them badly. And that's never really true. That only feels true when there's no self-love. Because when there's self-love, you've got the ability to do something for yourself that matters. You're able to be useful to yourself. And when you're useful to yourself, that means whatever your problems are, you can take care of them. You can solve them, you can get through them, you can fix them. You can basically be useful to yourself. So, self-love is that important because it's what keeps us moving forward. No matter what we're doing in life, to move forward requires us to be able to do something for ourselves. If you want to move forward in a relationship, that requires doing certain things for yourself. Meaning, doing the things required to allow for a relationship to work, and those are your self things. What you get from the relationship is really the reward from what you've done for yourself, how useful you've been to yourself, and therefore how much self-love you've developed. So, developing this beautiful relationship with yourself is what self-love is. And just like if you want to develop a beautiful relationship with someone, to do that you need to be useful to them. And for them to develop with you, they need to be useful to you. So if you start being useful to yourself, you're starting a beautiful relationship. So everyone, no matter who you're with or who you're not with, or if you're all alone, you have a partner who's actually waiting in the shadows of your mind to be useful to you, and that's yourself. And so if you start doing that, the problems that you will solve will blow your mind. When I see people make the differences in their life, when their lives really start changing from going downhill to going to a pleasant uphill meadow, it's because they start being useful to themselves. They're not waiting for someone else to do it anymore. And then I've seen people for 20 years are just standing still and sliding backwards against the tides of life. And the only reason is because they're not being useful to themselves. And then one day they realize, shit, I'm going to do something about it. And when they do that, and they do that useful act, that's when their life starts going in the right direction. Okay? So, just wanted to add that to this idea that love is utility, and that includes self-love. Thank you.